Hello, everyone. Welcome to SEO UnMasked, episode number 68. Today is April 25th, 2019. Happy to have you with us. I'm Garrett Groff, and today we have David Freudenberg joining us as a special guest.
What up? What up?
What's up? Pronounce my last name right.
Oh,
that'll be the last time that happens on the show if Garrett's leaving.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it like, yeah, I have no idea.
And I actually have to go home quick, so you're going to have the joys of listening to these three today.
Cool.
I vote Vin to be in charge. That's Vin Deletto. I'm Steve Brownlee, and over to you, Vin.
All right, have fun.
All right, here we go. So, David, usually we start off the show with just a wrap-up or roundup of what we've been working on for the last week. So, since you're the guest, you can go first. What are you working on in the SEO world? Or maybe you want to tell us what you do first so the audience knows.
Yeah, so I build white hat links for businesses pretty much anywhere via manual outreach. I follow the Dan Ray Methel team of VAs, and everything is pretty much personalized, from the email address being domain hosted and to each specific email, and that's what I do. And then I also have a real estate investing website.
Cool.
That's kind of how I got started in SEO.
Yeah, I think that's the same story for a lot of us. We're doing SEO for a local business, and then all of a sudden you realize that just doing the SEO is where the money's at. So you go that route. So Dan Ray,
Exactly.
what does he sell, a course or something? That like a
He wrote a book.
It's a book, like an agency management book.
I can't remember what it was called now. Is it like, I forget now. Do you know what his book's called, David?
Whose book?
Dan Ray. He definitely wrote a book, didn't he?
I gotta check that out. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think I know he wrote a book.
Yeah,
I'm sure he did. Let me check on Google. He either wrote.
But cool, man. Yeah, so most of the time I get all of our links for my personal affiliate sites through Steve and Garrett. But I've been doing a little outreach over the past month myself, just because I just wanted to see how the site would react from a super high relevant domain, like the most relevant you can possibly get, with an exact match domain anchor. So we just did it. There's not too many opportunities for real sites on high relevance that will give you the exact match anchor. So we landed about 5 of those spots. So we're just waiting for the links to drop, and I want to see how that moves the needle. I have no idea how I would scale that, but we've been pretty.
Well, I don't know. I mean, 5 a month's pretty good addition to your baseline. It's an extra a year or whatever.
I did like a shit ton of research, and we pared down the list like more and more most relevant. So I pretty much already churned through all of the opportunities for the strategy I used. But if it moves the needle, it'll be good for us. I've done an audit.
What kind of strategy?
What's that?
What kind of strategy did you use?
I picked out a certain service business type within the niche, and then I made a list of all of those services in the US. I found the ones with websites that had the metrics I wanted, and then I reached out to all of those guys, and I got 5 yeses. But I was very specific that within the guest post that I wanted to use the anchor that I'm picking. So I was able to create a guest post around the topic of the anchor I wanted to rank, and also I was able to use the anchor that I wanted to use.
You must have been super persuasive on your outreach pitch to get anyone back saying yes with that approach.
Yeah, but we sold it. I mean, I probably emailed like 500 people, and I got 5.
Hey, buddy, I got a really sweet deal for you. I'm going to put the spammiest article ever written on your site with not only my exact match anchor, but I'd kind of like a whole exact match article.
Buddy. you know the niche. It's not the most like sophisticated people in the niche. So I think the yeses I got seemed like they could care less. So, but the metrics are good. It was highly relevant. So we'll see how that works out within the next month.
Just email them all again. That's what they say in these link building courses. Just be like,
Yeah.
hey, just checking you saw this.
Oh yeah, like follow up like 12 different times until they just give in.
I mean, we don't follow up at all because all of our clients are agencies. It just takes a couple of complaints out of 1,000 emails to, word gets back to one of the clients, or, and then the agency has to explain why they're getting complaints about something they never even did because we were doing it for them. So we try and keep it super zero complaints generated if possible.
The one thing I got worried about is, and let me ask you, in your opening outreach email, do you include any links either to your site or to their site to reference like an article, or is it no links at all?
It depends on the client and the rules of engagement.
Yeah.
Some clients want us pitching the content because it's really good and they'll get loads of free social shares as part of the outreach, regardless of whether they end up getting a link immediately from that person. Sometimes just us doing the outreach will result in 50 shares on social or something, which they obviously want to get for free if they can get it, because we're doing the outreach anyway. So it varies. Sometimes we don't say anything. I mean, sometimes we're trying to have information on every decent website that responds to email or social messages on the internet. So sometimes we're just writing out to people just to talk to them with no client in mind, and then we won't use them for 6 months.
Yeah.
So we do just completely.
That's interesting.
So we do loads of stuff.
I maybe like a year ago, I got reported to spam cop because I guess one of the outreach emails had a link in the opening email and somebody reported it. So now I'm all paranoid about doing that.
I'd only put the link in if it's a genuine link bait. If you're trying to get a link to your best cheap credit cards page, I don't think including that in the outreach is going to be a very good idea for you.
Do you think that's a good niche, credit cards?
Well, people seem to do all right in credit cards.
I'd say so.
It seems to have worked out. It seems to have worked out pretty well for that points guy chap.
Well, yeah, he must make a living wage with that website. What do you think?
I want to know how heavy that jacket he wore, which was made up of all credit cards from all of his sponsors, because some of those are metal cards and stuff. A whole jacket made of premium credit cards. I reckon that would have weighed quite a bit.
Who is this guy?
The points guy. I forget what his real name is. The one who runs thepointsguy.com. He's the biggest in the travel space. He sold the company for a few million, but they've kept him on with share equity and stuff. I'm guessing he's worth a lot of money, but he's quite interested in being famous. That's the benefit of running this business. So he hosts awards and stuff with him wearing a jacket made of credit cards and all that kind of thing.
Cool.
He's all about the fame.
Yeah. So I mean, you remember when it was a couple of months back when Grindstone had that Twitter rant?
Yeah, well,
that's what turned us off. I was he categorizes the sites between low authority, low relevance, high authority, low relevance, high authority, high relevance, and he says depending on that matrix, that's gonna determine what kind of anchor text you use. So that's really.
We get a couple of quick questions. AJ Santos first tells us that it's Brian Kelly is the point guy's name, which it is. Thank you for reminding us. Super smart guy, I'm sure. Just kind of funny to see his antics these days. But I guess if fame's working for you, you may as well milk it. BB Raven says, so you don't pay link fees most of the time. We have clients that engages on paid links. If a client engages us for anything that isn't paid links, we won't even pay $1 if the webmaster asks for it. We just throw that opportunity away. So most of our clients are on our unpaid link building. So we're mostly building completely unpaid links. Around 40% of our business is probably paid links, where the clients have specifically want paid links because of their requirements not being compatible with natural links for whatever reason. So yeah, most of the time we wouldn't pay. For my own sites, I'm happy to pay. If it's a good link and the site isn't obviously some craptastic piece of shit, I'd more than happy to buy a link. But even then, that's very few and far between. I'm trying to just buy the occasional good opportunity here and there. Especially when I was in the stop smoking drugs niche, my Shampix site, before it got penalized back in the old Penguin days, I was very aggressive with, because everyone's doing paid links in those kind of niches. So I think it's niche dependent heavily, rather than, in some niches everyone's buying links. So the call just goes like, hey, you guys can do paid links, right? How many can you get me a month? I need like 400.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, yeah, we can probably buy you a couple hundred. You'll have to buy the rest from somewhere else. We're going to struggle with 400 just for your niche every month. But so yeah, it really is niche dependent. Some niches are more, and it's obviously client rules of engagement dependent. Whatever they ask for is what we'll stick to. So if it's 100% unpaid, we won't even pay $1. If it's flexible, we'll try and get mostly unpaid, because I believe those links to be slightly stronger. I don't think it's because of any obvious reason. I think genuinely Google does try and blacklist sites that they think are crap, and you have no way of knowing beforehand which sites Google trusts the links more from or not. No, I don't believe Majestic Trust Flow tells you that.
Yeah.
I think that tells you that Majestic trusts the site.
Is like how people that are fine buying paid links or even public PBNs, they say, if the traffic is there, or this metric is there, or that metric is there, you don't have to worry about it. Do you believe that, or do you think that's just like wishful thinking?
I think it's nonsense. I mean, some people are all hung up on traffic these days. I think traffic is useful, particularly if you're buying paid links, because you can see if a site's obviously been penalized. Because a lot of paid link sellers, I won't name any of them, but there are a couple of the biggest names in the space selling paid links. All of the link inventory they have is penalized sites that they no longer are trying to monetize, so they sell paid links on them.
Right.
And so they're obviously crap sites, more likely than if you
the like sites that have like a massive list of other sites like in their network, basically PBNs or just burnt out websites.
Yeah, mostly, but it's burnt out websites, the one I'm thinking of. So they just have a collection of burnt out websites, and that's actually how they prospect to find desperate webmasters to take their $50 so they can make a higher margin on their paid links, because they're not paying anything like market rates, because these are just crapped out websites, and they're finding crapped out websites on purpose and putting them on their list to sell to idiots for $200.
Just all metrics, pretty much. Just domain authority, this, and this is what you get. But it's like, it's a crap link in reality, because they don't get any traffic, and it's not as relevant, and all kinds of different things.
But I think, but you can't just say because the site has traffic, or because the site has low traffic but it's never been penalized, it's a bad link or a good link. A really relevant link from a small local blogger. I mean, you wouldn't expect that to have tons of traffic. They're doing stuff about walking your dog in some tiny town, but it's a really good site. It's only linked to by quality people. It just doesn't have a ton of traffic because the stuff they write about is super niche. I would still want that link to my dog site, for example.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So I think the metrics are useful, and it probably helps people vet link vendors like us, because they can give us a set of rules or whatever. But for my own sites and my own work, I really couldn't give a shit. I just want it to look like a good link. And that's it, really. If it passes the sniff test, I think that's more valuable than any of the numbers.
So BB just asked, what metrics are you guys actually looking for when you're evaluating a prospect? Is there like a set list of things you check specifically to say this is a good link, or do you kind of just feel it prospect by prospect?
For me, it's just the gut feel. Does it look like a good site? And I don't care about any of the metrics. I'll let David answer, because for our client work, it's just whatever the client tells us they want. We just execute whatever they ask for. So
for me, it's relevancy. I'd say that's the most important thing to me. Relevancy, what does the content look like on the site? And then site traffic. And, the clients usually ask for domain authority or domain rating of blah, blah, blah. And I just throw it in there, but I don't really think it's that big of a deal. Link is a link, in my opinion, as long as it's a relevant link. I think relevancy is the most important thing.
I agree. And one thing that's really interesting is Ahrefs did a study a while back where they compared their domain rating, where they've obviously tried to evaluate the authority of the sites that are linking and just counting the number of referring domains and looked at the correlation between those two things in ranking. And domain DR was better than MozDA on their study. Surprise, surprise. I'm sure Moz would study it the other way around if they analyzed it. But it was only just better as well than just counting the number of linking root domains. So basically, I don't believe Ahrefs necessarily that they're better than Moz or vice versa, whatever, it doesn't matter. But the two main metrics people are using to assess the authority of a site don't predict rankings any better than if you just count up the number of referring domains a site has. And I think it just goes, it's not that the authority of the site doesn't matter. It's just that none of these tools, it's been so long since Google gave out their data for free in mass scale, that none of these tools have any benchmark to check themselves against other than correlation with ranking. So they're trying to beat that, just count the number of domains, and they're all doing it just, but not by much. So you can only put a little bit of faith in their metrics being better than just what David said, just count the number of links you can get on what look like decent sites, and that's probably fine as a strategy.
I wasn't looking at any metrics whatsoever. I mean, I looked at traffic. I made sure I checked that on multiple sources, so I knew it wasn't like fake traffic. I looked at the quality of the website, like you said, David. Like if it's an old theme from 10 years ago, I probably shied away from that. But I also looked at how many do follow links their site had, and the quality of those links. If it was like if they had spam links or if they had like real deal natural links. Same thing with the anchors. If like they had like one anchor at like 60%, I'm not touching that because that's spam to shit. And then beyond that, just engagement. Are they getting comments on their blog posts, or are people commenting on their Facebook page or anything like that? And if most of those points were good, then I added it to my outreach list.
Yeah, that seems good. Couple of questions. BB wants to know how old David is, and also says that she loves the 69. So some good information for you there, David.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you want to answer the question, but
I'm 21.
There you go.
Young man. I wish I got into all this when I was 21.
Yeah. A serious question from BB though as well. What's your favorite traffic tool then? You were just mentioning checking the traffic on multiple tools.
I was checking it on Ahrefs and SimilarWeb, and I just know from past use that SimilarWeb is usually overstated by 3. So I usually divide whatever number SimilarWeb is by 3, and that usually, if it matches Ahrefs, I assume that it's pretty close.
I find SERPstat to be the most accurate.
SERPstat, I have a subscription there too. I totally forgot about that. Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, you get these lifetime deals, don't you, on AppSumo, and then you're like, oh yeah, I've got this tool for life. I should probably use it sometimes.
Yeah. Well, they have
a good API too.
Yeah.
Which you get a little taste of on their basic tool. We'll probably end up upgrading at some point because it'd be nice to run a bit more data than we currently run through it. But it's quite a good package if you get that AppSumo deal as a starter package and you haven't got much budget. When that AppSumo deal runs, definitely jump on the lifetime because it's a pretty good tool.
Sure. They have the keyword clustering tool, but it's not available on the free package. You have to upgrade to that. But for people that want a less expensive like Market News or ClearScope, SERPstat has a good little tool for that.
I use Ahrefs and Moz, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. You know what it is?
If you take the Ahrefs number and multiply it between 3 and 20, that's the real number.
I sign up I sign up for tools and like I'll just use it for like one campaign or one project I'm working on, and then I'll never cancel it. And then I look at my like expenses at the end of the year. I'm like, hey, what's this $500 that I've been paying for all year? And then I cancel it.
Yeah. That's why I keep track of everything, because I'm like always thinking about that. Am I even using this? Because I was thinking about that recently with Ahrefs, and I really just use it for specific link building campaigns and competitors' links and different things like that.
Yeah. Hey, so BB asked, do you recommend people of a young age getting into link building, or has it been a a tough haul for you?
I'd say, I mean, it's hard. It's definitely hard to like run a business. Right now I'm doing pretty good, but I would say if you're somebody who's willing to work and learn and is like not just jumping from thing to thing, but is really just going to focus on one specific thing and look to master it, I would say get into it. And it's an industry that's on the rise based on the data.
I'll play devil's advocate and say that I think the search as it is now, link building, the web, everything's going to go through a massive period of change that doesn't matter to someone my age because, you know, I've got loads of experience in other industries and doing things, and I'm not really stressed out about what happens when all this big change comes. Been through loads of change already, but if I was 21 and starting a business and I was just going to be doing link building, I'd be seriously worried about what I would be doing when I'm 26 if I wasn't also learning other skills. And do you really want to have to learn backup skills at the same time as growing your first business? I mean, if you've already got the experience and you're already doing really well out of it, like David's doing, you know, I definitely wouldn't just quit and do something else now. But if you were starting with no experience, trying to pick what to get into, I think it would be a big mistake to focus heavily on stuff that's really mature and established, like link building and stuff, because I don't think it's going to be around for your career.
Yeah, but if David grows a business and he runs the business as a proper business, as a proper service company, those skills will pour over to other service businesses outside of.
They're useful skills for sure, but you're better off picking one that's going to be around if you're 21 for a long time.
I agree 100% because I think link building is going to disappear in the near future based on the way things are changing and the way things are happening with AI and different things like that, and Google going to towards more like paid and stuff and making it harder for people to rank organically. And you know, they want to wipe out SEOs as well. So I definitely agree. That's part of the reason why I started with real estate investing, and I kind of just fell backwards into link building because it gave me more time to work on my website. It gave me income to work on it. So I was like, cool, I'll do this too.
Yeah, and people that watch the show know that Garrett and myself are going to be heavily involved in the travel industry, starting probably next year sometime more seriously. We're just messing around at the minute with what the brand's going to look like, what the services are going to be. Is it going to be 100% online? Is it going to be another service business where we need to train staff? Loads of decisions to make, and we're testing at the minute, but it's something that we've got some good ideas in. So that's where, you know, our second venture is going to come. Obviously, we have loads of SEO things going on, but we don't want to just be like an SEO company that hedges by doing more SEO stuff on the side, because that's kind of like Enron, where everyone who worked there had their pension funds invested in Enron.
There you go.
It all seemed like a good idea when Enron was doubling in value every 4 seconds, but less of a good idea when the plug gets pulled. And like David said, we don't know when the plug's going to get pulled. So
yeah,
it could be 20 years time, and you could be a millionaire from 21 now just doing link building. It could be in 5 years that the AI revolution and the way people search changes so much that we can't even imagine it now. I mean, you think 10 years ago what the world looked like. You see teenagers now when they're at university and they go out for lunch together, and they sit around the table, but they've all got their phones and tablets out because they're really talking to 80 other people at the same time, not just the people they've gone to lunch with. And you know, people's behavior has already changed so much in 10 years. I'd be looking to the future more at 21, and to get the experience that will help you do the next thing and be the next superstar, rather than grind out an income doing something that's because you're going to learn loads of skills that are complete. You're going to learn some skills that are amazingly transferable, like running a business, dealing with clients, the PR aspects to link building. I'm sure PR is not going to go away, but do you really want a job in PR? There's a reason we're doing link building instead of PR. It's because the PR bit sucks, and the clients are a nightmare on the pure PR side, and the newspapers are a nightmare, the journalists are a nightmare, clients don't bother showing up for an interview that you spent 3 months trying to get them. You know, so if you want to be a PR, then great, you're learning some good skills. But if you're not going to do any of this kind of stuff again, I would do something different. There's a lot of pressure for us to answer BB's personalizing emails questions. So How much do you change the body of the email per site? I guess, Vin, did you write 500 completely unique emails for your campaign?
No, I didn't. There are certain ones that I wanted to do everything I could to get certain links because they were really attractive for what I was doing. And there was probably 10 of those that I wrote 10 completely personalized emails, and one of those I landed. The rest were just kind of variations on the same template.
So 20% of your success came from just 10 of the emails.
Yeah.
You should have done it all personally.
And the way I do it is just like real off the cuff. Like I just talk to people like I've known them, like I've been friends with them for a long time, and you see that people are very conversational when they reply. But yeah, I only did that for 10 of them. The rest were just variations, and I used the person's first name from my research.
Someone's commenting on my multiplying the Ahrefs traffic number by 3 to 20 not being very exact. It's because the Ahrefs traffic number is complete trash, so it'll be in that range somewhere. Good luck working out all those.
I usually all those third-party metrics I just compare to my Google Analytics historical traffic, and usually Ahrefs is close, but not that close. And from my experience, SimilarWeb is like always 3 times the actual traffic from analytics. So I kind of just guesstimate in my head, and it's just from doing it a lot. You kind of get a feel for.
I think you're just looking at trends. Like I use them just to make sure a site doesn't have 2% of the traffic it used to have.
Yeah.
It's just to spot penalties, stuff like that. I put very little value in it from a raw number perspective, because I know over the years I've known the real numbers for. It's got to be getting on towards 1,000 sites by now, and Ahrefs has never been close at all.
Hey, let's jump through our news here. Unless you want to just chat about link building.
Well, no, let's do the news.
All right.
See if anything interesting comes up.
So first up on Roundtable, we have a report that Google search algorithms are designed to be more granular, but older updates were more broad. We don't use domain authority. We generally try to have our metrics as granular as possible. So I guess this is just saying don't trust third-party metrics because Google's having much more specific metrics that they use internally that are completely different than domain authority.
Well, we've spoken about this a million times. Domain authority has never been used by Google. It's
right.
The only reason it correlates to rankings is that PageRank is a thing, and when pages that have PageRank all link to each other, i.e. a website, it spreads some of that around. And when you used to look at like the PageRank of the homepage, say it was PR4, you could say with almost certainty that a random blog page on that site, one click from the homepage, would almost certainly be PR4. And that proxies to domain authority, because a site with a higher domain authority would typically have also had a higher page rank on their homepage. So a random blog post on that site would have tended to have a higher page rank than on a site that had a domain authority of 20 and a homepage rank of 2. Like a random blog post might only be page rank 1 there. So we've known that Google's used a more granular page by page thing even in its raw days. So anyone who's surprised that Google continues to use granular page by page information because they've got it and would ever just use domain authority is kind of crazy, if you ask me. These people have just started to think, because the tools have done such a good job marketing themselves, people have started to think that these numbers are real and that Google uses them and that that's how Google works and that domains have an authority and all this kind of nonsense. And it's just complete gibberish. I saw 3 different tests in the last 12 months done by different groups of people where they were testing just crazy things like putting orphan pages up on a site and wondering why they didn't rank and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. And obviously you're not going to benefit from the site's domain authority if it's not linked to from anywhere on the site, because there's no way for the page rank to be passed, and that's all Google's really measuring. It's just a random orphan page. So people start testing things that you don't need to test because they're gibberish. Because the tools have done such a good job of convincing people that these are real things. John Bueller said we don't use domain authority so many times now that I'm starting to not believe him. Whenever Google says something that often, I'm like, wait a minute, why do they keep saying it over and over again?
Yeah, no, it's a correlation metric, and
Yeah.
originally it was meant to be used as just a guidepost, but now there's actually other metrics built on top of these domain authority metrics, and that's what's just silly because you don't even know if it's something you should be following in the first place.
Aside from metrics, I think it's really interesting because in the past, I think they used to do broad updates, and now they do very specific updates that are like even almost constantly changing.
Well, the old broad updates are rolling out in real time now. So you have Panda's been in real time for a while, and Penguin's in real time since for a couple of years now. So
well, I think it makes sense because the first updates were like the first really big changes they did to the search algorithm. Like Garrett likes asking people at conferences about Florida because no one remembers what it was,
right.
which he finds amusing. Obviously, the Florida 2 update now means people know what it is because they've read about it recently. So his fun questioning's gone now probably for a year until everyone forgets again. But they were the first time they'd made big changes to anything to fix things. And I imagine when you start with a complete mess and, Sherlock does Google works, all those packages, you could just put up spam and it would work really well. So you're starting with a complete mess. I guess you need big, broad updates to even make a dent. Now, I guess they're pretty happy with probably most of the results. I mean, I think most users are. So they're looking to just refine rather than rip the house down and do something completely different.
I think their new broad updates are what they're calling the core algorithm updates now, and it seems like they roll those out 2 or 3 times a year, and then they spend the next 3 months after that fixing what they broke. And that's what we kind of are experiencing now with the recent March updates, and even in August when we had the Medic update, it was a massive change, and then they slowly tinker it and fix it to what it should have been in the first place. And hopefully that's not the trend going forward where they're rolling out this big update and then retroactively fixing their mistakes. Hopefully,
Well, it sounds fine to me. As long as they fix them.
yeah. Well, I mean, 3 months where your previously reliable revenue just disappears because of a mistake. That's not something. I don't know. I think a lot of people that are hit by that are okay with it.
I don't know. I think most big sites that are trying to do SEO arbitrage, in the highly competitive industries like the one I was in, stop smoking, Champix, drug treatment, credit cards that we mentioned earlier, they expect significant SERP volatility as part of their business model.
Yeah.
Some of them are doing 100% growth year on year. The occasional periods where they take a couple of 30% in 1 year, it's just part of the graph is just
Right.
always, you can't expect it to be a smooth sailing because the algorithm that you're working within is constantly changing. So you're always going to get chop. So I think being okay with a bit of chop is important. If you're not okay with a bit of chop, you better get good at paid advertising and have your business depend on that too, so that you can smooth out the chop a little bit. Because you're gonna have pretty big chop if you're relying on Google. Everyone does.
So next one up here, we have an article from Mike Blumenthal about how to find Google local spam at scale. Why you would want to search this, I'm sure there's many different reasons, but it's pretty easy. You're just searching for the map URL along with the all in title operator for the spam keyword. So the example they used here is they did all in title car accident lawyer plus the Google Maps URL, and they uncovered a whole list of spammed local site domains. So I don't know if they're doing this to reverse engineer what the spammers are doing, or
I think this is written for Google, really. Like this blog post is here you go, guys. You're not doing your job properly. Look how easy it is to find this shit. What are you playing at kind of post?
Yeah, I can see that for sure.
Especially given who's written it. He's not known for encouraging spam. Not in public anyway. I don't know what he talks about behind closed doors, so I've never met him. But I think this is a post aimed at Google. Like, come on, guys, this is simple.
Yeah. But I like them. I mean, how many do you guys use the advanced search operators for your prospecting?
I do.
Heavily.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'd be surprised in 2019. You know, advanced operators have been around forever. Some SEOs still don't even know what the hell they are or why they're useful. But yeah, I use them all the time.
Well, some SEOs still think Google uses domain authority as a metric, so I don't hold out much hope for this industry in terms of knowledge sometimes.
Okay, so
not a lot of you guys who are digging deep and watching our show, of course. You guys are probably all experts, but
there you go.
I'm sure you'll agree there's plenty of jokers.
Hope you're experts. But so it looks like this indexing bug is still an issue. Google's indexing bug spreads like a virus to coverage report, URL inspection tool, and more. Have you guys lost index pages? You have.
Yeah.
You know, like percentage-wise, what you lost?
Well, what happened, it was just really like my real estate investing website's still fairly new, so I'm just focusing on mainly like 2 keywords. And I went from the first page and it de-indexed me and then I just disappeared. And then all of a sudden I reappeared and now it's like I'm on the second page, but I'm like slowly inching my way back up to the first page. So it's kind of like, it's kind of what he was saying. It's like up and down, you know, it's just from what happens with Google. They release updates, something gets messed up, you go up and down.
Yeah. It looks like this report, because Google said that they fixed it last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, but it looks like it's just hitting the different tools in Search Console now from 2 weeks ago. So everybody's data is all fucked up. But
I don't really follow Google Search Console much or well, I focus on analytics more than Google Search Console.
Yeah, I'm still seeing it though. Like we published a new article, and even this weekend it indexed. I posted it on Saturday, indexed on Sunday, and then it disappeared for 2 or 3 days, and it just popped up again this morning. So yeah, that's kind of weird. It's, you know, I've never seen it pop on and off over the course of a week. But yeah, it's so weird.
Still seeing it.
I'm sure they'll get it sorted. It seems like a pretty big problem for them, so I'm sure they're working hard on this one.
Yeah.
Hasn't affected me. I know someone who lost their most important page and they just resubmitted it in Google Search Console and it seemed to pop back pretty quickly, but I don't know if that's the norm. I've only really seen that one example, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounds like people are having some pretty worse issues. Much worse issues, I should say.
I hate submitting URLs through a Search Console for indexing, because every time I do that, every URL I submit through the tool, it seems like it takes like longer for that page to rank. And I don't know if I just have my tinfoil hat on, but I don't know. Usually when I let things index naturally, it seems like they index higher when they first index, and that it's easier to get them onto the first page than it is.
Yeah, I wouldn't go submitting anything to it unless it was broken.
Yeah.
Like this guy obviously lost his most important page, so I think do nothing was a less optimal idea than. But yeah, I wouldn't go around submitting all your, because I'd imagine it's spammers probably do that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, only SEOs would be worried about getting a page indexed. So it's almost like another little honeypot of sorts where you're just showing Google that you're trying to manipulate the rankings. And so why would they be helpful to you if you think about it?
I mean, if you know, a couple of months later a really important page wasn't indexed, you know, I think I'd be fine to go ahead and submit it.
So Google has come out and said the NoFollow link attribute is working fairly well.
We got Backlinko first, haven't we?
Oh, did I skip one? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Backlinko's email outreach study. I did not read this. Did you read this?
No, I don't read anything Backlinko writes usually, but
I think I skipped like 2 weeks ago or something, or whenever it came out, like last week. Oh, it just came out.
To be honest, I don't go to Backlinko anymore because it just kind of seems like it doesn't write any new articles. He just kind of updates old content. And considering how long it takes to read one of his 10,000 word articles, reading it once was enough, you know, the first time 2 years ago.
Yeah, I think he's been very clever in that he's been able to take things that everyone was doing anyway, that knew what they were doing, and come up with a really funky name for it, like skyscraper and all this kind of stuff. He's a very clever branding guy. I think it's but there was never much new information. You know, like guestographics, like that was something everyone smart was doing, because Matt Cutts had told us at the time, like a million times, if you just have an embed code on your infographic and a bunch of people embed it, he thinks that's just the infographics method of building links. And so, you know, everyone obviously came up with the idea that you would just try and make sure you gave them some content. But he did a great job of marketing that as a thing that had a name. So it was never anything new on there. So I kind of stopped reading it around that phase, just because it was just regurgitated old information with a really funky name put on it. I mean, this looks like some good data. I think his numbers seem pretty on point. You'd hope to get a lot higher than 8.5% response, but not absurdly higher. Like, I don't think you're going to get, unless you're doing highly customized outreach with kind of PR level skill, you're not going to get much higher than double that percentage reply in general.
Yeah.
Because,
Hey,
you know,
Phoebe,
if you run a website, you know why. Like, it's got nothing to do with your outreach skill. If you run a website that's kind of got a domain rating higher than about 40, you get like 20, 30 emails a day with people pitching you stuff.
Right.
Even if 5 of those are amazing, you're only going to reply to 1. So when you take into account all the crap ones, you're only replying to 20% of the good ones. It's not surprising that the average in the industry is so low. I think for highly custom outreach, you can probably get around 15 to 20%. And for you terrible outreach, you might only get 5%. If you're somewhat competent, but you're doing things at scale, you should definitely be over 10%. With very little customization.
Now that I'm digging into this, all this data is actually really good.
Yeah, some good data on here. Long subject lines.
Personalized subject lines boost response rate by 30%, a little over 30%.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, I think subject lines. So I'm going to be controversial compared with most people that do outreach. I think the content of the email is massively overrated. And if you're struggling, you should spend all of your time on your subject lines. And you should think about clickbait that people can't help but open.
Yeah.
But obviously that has to match your body. You can't be like, you'll never believe how big Donald Trump's penis is, and they click through in your articles about stopping smoking. You know, they've got to click it and actually get the juice that they're expecting. But you can be, you want to be a little bit clickbaity and make yours one of the few that they at least read.
By personalized, they mean by addressing the recipient by name, like so.
Well, I'd go further than that, you know, and personalize to the website, and yes, you can do these kind of things at scale. It's especially easier to have a selection of different subject lines and things like that you segment than it is to customize the whole body text. But I think subject lines are the most important thing by miles, and you should spend all of your time on that and way less time on the body if you're trying to learn, or you just don't have time on a campaign, or
guys, I'm trying to share this link in the chat, but it's not letting me. But it's actually
Backlinko.com is a pure spam site. Google has blocked it on YouTube.
Yeah. It's in the show notes right underneath the video if you want to click on it.
That's another tip for finding your the pure spam sites. If you can't share them on YouTube, then you don't want to link.
So we have a screenshot here.
I'm only joking, Brian. Don't worry.
What is this screenshot about with the hot sauce?
What screenshot? I don't know. I didn't share that.
I'm skipping that because I have no idea.
I want to see what it is. Let's have a look at what it is.
It's just hot sauce. I don't know. This had to be Garrett. I don't know what the hell this is.
Okay, so yeah, there's hot sauce roulette in the comments. If any of you guys want to figure out what that's got to do with anything, good luck.
But yeah, we're up to roundtable again with the NoFollow link attribute. I'm glad it's working well, being that just about every SEO has been scared shitless regarding do follow and no follow for years. But he's John Mueller said on Twitter that the NoFollow link attribute has been and is still working fairly well. He added, he hasn't seen many cases of sites causing themselves significant issues or pages not getting credit in quite some time.
I think most people understand what it is now. So other than the big news organizations that would want everyone to link to them, and in the case of Europe, want people to pay them for linking to them, which is brilliant European law. Well done, EU Parliament. Most people know what it's for now. Like if you're linking to, like if you're insulting someone and calling them a piece of shit, and you link to their site, you want to NoFollow it. If you've got like an ad sidebar where you put like, you know, you're a travel blogger and you've got your, you know, best fee-free travel credit card link in there, you know, you want to NoFollow it. If you're linking to an actual source that you got value from, you want to leave that as a followed link, like normal. So I think he's probably right. I think compared with when it came out and no one knew what the fuck they were doing, and they were NoFollowing links to their own site and stuff like that internally, and accidentally de-indexing parts of their site with, you know, putting it in the meta tags and all this kind of nonsense. There were loads of stories around people making a complete mess of their sites back in the day. I haven't seen any of those stories recently either, and we haven't spoken about one on the show ever. So I guess he's probably right. People are using it correctly most of the time, and people aren't self-suiciding with it anymore. I think where it has let itself down, though, is you would assume that some of the sites that would be the most trustworthy are sites where real journalists have written news stories and actually done research and interviewed people, and their links are now NoFollowed. So in theory, Google shouldn't count them. Now, whether it does or doesn't count them is obviously debated by various people. And there has been some studies done where just having your company name mentioned in a news story, even if it wasn't linked, is enough for Google to pass some value to the entity that is your company and things like that. So, but it seems to take value away from some of the most trusted links on the web that they're now NoFollow by default, because there was so much spam from contributors on those news sites. So I think there are definitely problems with NoFollow still, but in terms of people not knowing what the fuck it is and doing stupid things with it, I think it's probably fixed.
And an interesting case that was brought up to me by Jared, and I want to see if you guys agree, is NoFollowing affiliate links as a always, you know. So Jared's point was that you have to NoFollow all your affiliate links because
that's Google's policy.
It is. Yeah. So
they're advertising links, so they should be NoFollowed. Yeah.
Wow. I never knew that.
Whether it makes any difference if you bother or not, I would say probably for small affiliates, for getting in the few, not a big deal. That's for a big site. It's probably a risk to not have them NoFollowed.
Were we talking like a month ago or something about potentially losing link juice? Actually, never mind.
Well, no, I mean Google's view is if the link's on the page, you lose the juice whether you NoFollow it or not. So I don't think it matters from that perspective, but from I mean, you may as well NoFollow them, because if that's what Google wants you to do, it doesn't harm you. It harms the person you're linking to, but you know, screw them anyway. I forget who it was now. There was a story about a gambling affiliate site that came up with a clever way to make their affiliate links look like real links and encourage their affiliates to not NoFollow them, because they were trying to trick Google into thinking they were just links, not affiliate links. I forget how they did that now, but other than that particular scheme, if it worked, I guess you should just NoFollow them. And
yeah. Cool. Well, now that Garrett's back, maybe he can tell us what the hell this.
He's talking about it in the chat, so I'll let you read it out when he's finished.
So the hot sauce. I was scrolling on Facebook and it was an advertisement. It was a really quickly animated picture, and you have to do screenshot roulette, and whatever the screenshot was, you're supposed to order it. That's pretty. So it's like an interactive ad.
Well, obviously Garrett needs the hottest of sources, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. You're muted, buddy. I can't hear him. I don't know if he's talking or anything. But yeah, that's all the news today. Did we have anything else? Oh, you have your rant of the week, right?
Well, there was one just quick one I wanted to cover, the motherboard link.
Okay.
So there's these GPS tracking things you can get for your car, and some hackers found out how you can just turn thousands of cars' engines off all at once using them. So yeah, it's part of my ongoing campaign against people installing smart devices in their homes, cars, and other places, because these companies, look at Facebook, these companies suck at security, privacy, and everything. This is the kind of thing we're going to have insane. Like in future, terrorists won't have to do anything. They'll just hire some Russian kid and turn off 50 cars somewhere random. And just
let me ask you, because I know that you're majorly against smart tools like this. At what adoption point do you feel like you're going to be forced to use them?
I don't know. I still don't have a Facebook account. So,
yeah.
I don't feel that I'll ever be forced to do anything. I mean, I'll choose to use some of them. Like I choose to use LinkedIn, even though it's suboptimal to use it and things like that. But
yeah, but I'm talking about more like the smart home automation technology.
I don't know. Maybe when I'm like old and crippled and can't get out of my chair anymore to change the thermostat.
Yeah.
Like, while I've still got legs, I mean, and plus it's good for you to get up and down a bit now and then. You know, like it's not doing your health any good to never get out of your chair. So I guess when I'm so unhealthy that I can't get out of my chair, then I will install things that do things for me because I can't do them for myself anymore.
Cool.
I think this is like I think the way crime is going to happen in the future is all shifting. I think like the way that crime used to happen in the past, not only crime but also terrorism is all shifting into this. And because everybody's going the wave with technology and artificial intelligence and all this stuff, there's going to be like major issues that come up in the future, but it's not going to be the same people that we would think it would be. Like in the past, you know, is gangs, the mafia, and different things like that. In the future, I think it's going to be cyber crimes and hackers and cyber terrorism and stuff that could really destroy people's lives and hurt massive amounts of people without it being such of like a direct physical act, you know?
Yeah, that's what that really bad Die Hard sequel was with the hackers when they like took over all the infrastructure of America. That kind of played to what we're talking about now in a ridiculous way, but I definitely can see stuff like that happening, just not on such a grand scale as a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I think it will happen on a scale that's less ridiculous than the movie sounds. I haven't watched it, but it'll happen on a scale where people die for sure.
Yeah, I think so too.
By even simple things like you'd say every old person has an automated thermostat in a really cold city, and some percentage of those aren't going to notice because they're asleep when it all gets turned off and their house goes down to like -10. People are going to die in really unpleasant ways and unexpected ways because of hacks that were meant to be. Some of them won't even be meant to be. Like, you know, you might be blackmailing the power company or something and you accidentally kill people because
I watched
down quickly enough and things like that. There's going to be all kinds of horrific things happen with this kind of stuff, and just having everything simple and under your control when you don't need it to be smart.
Yeah.
Like obviously you need your like Google Maps, you need to be smart because otherwise it's useless. You're better off with a paper map than a really tiny map you can barely see on your screen. So unless it's smart, it's completely useless as a navigation system. But you know, a thermostat's already a kind of super easy to use. You turn a little dial thing to the temperature you want, and then you sit back down again, and it's done. I don't really see like any benefit.
Silicon Valley, they did it. They hacked a whole brand of smart refrigerators, and then they used that to host their Internet 2.0 decentralized cloud internet on a network of hacked refrigerators, which I thought was funny. Let's get to this rant of the week, man. I want to see what's up here.
Well, actually, no, Rand spent a lot of time recently writing his book, so I guess he wasn't doing much reading of proper books by actual authors, and he's finally got around to reading a book. I don't know who Liz and Molly are. I guess probably higher up in the thread you'll be able to find out. It's called No Hard Feelings. It's about emotions in the workplace. And I think it's not surprising to me to find that Rand is an emotional cripple. But he read a section of these two ladies' book, and realized they did a much better job than him about discussing emotions in the workplace. I think when he reads some more books about other topics that he discussed, he will also find that they contain sections much better than the equivalent section in his book. I think he's in for a pretty rough ride. So my tip to Rand after this round of the week would be just to stop reading books, because might not find his to be so good after he's read some real books.
Cool. Good old Rand.
Good old Rand.
Okay, for me to snipe right now. You guys were slacking. Or Garrett was.
What with the what with Finn? Sorry, I didn't catch what you said.
Oh, I said, well, there's no word of the day this week.
No, well, Garrett does the word of the day normally. I
Yeah,
only do
I think of a good one.
Someone sent it to me via Twitter, and no one's tweeted me a word of the day in ages. So if you want to, it's actually a phrase of the day these days people have been sending in. So if you want to send in a phrase of the day at SD Brownlee on Twitter, or send it to Garrett on Facebook if you've got him on there. I think that's where he gets some from, and we'll get it on next week's show.
Cool. Well, I think we timed this one perfectly. It was a perfect hour.
Despite our off-topic link building discussion for a good chunk of the beginning, we've done pretty well crunching through the news.
Yeah. David, you want to? Do you have a service or anything you want to share with the audience, or do you have a website you want to let us know about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, my website is SEOwithdavid.com, and if you're an SEO, I don't do any SEO to my website right now, so don't expect anything crazy on there. And the article to care about, I guess, is my how to build links for SEO. It's basically where I take my clients and potential clients through my entire process, how I'd work with them, and what they can expect, and also reporting. So if you guys want to check that out.
Awesome. I just shared both of those links in the chat if you guys want to check it out.
How about your real estate business? Is that something where people can check it out yet, or are you still in the stealth mode launch phase on that one?
Yeah. I mean, it's my real estate investing website. It's davidbuyshousesflorida.com.
davidbuyshousesflorida.com.
Yeah.
That sounds like exactly the website name an SEO would have for his real estate business.
Cool, guys. Well, I believe that is it for us this week, right?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, David. Been cool to have you on.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
All
You'll
right.
be pleased to know we actually had some viewers once we got going as well. Well, you could tell from the chat, but it wasn't just one.
There you go.
We usually
All
get
right,
about 75 in the end, so a few people will have seen it.
All right, that's it. I guess we'll catch you all next week. Same time, Thursdays at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard.
And BB sends more love, David.
Love you, baby.
All right, guys. Adios.
Next week. Adios.
Take it off.
Bye.